Hello, business building warrior. Welcome to an all new episode of Silent Sales Machine Radio. If you're new around here, we're so glad that you've joined us. Thanks for jumping in. This is an episode that was recorded not too long ago, just a couple months ago, at our live event in Orlando, where hundreds of us from all over the world gathered to discuss Amazon selling strategies, e-commerce, Walmart, all kinds of great breakout sessions. We had about 50 breakout sessions. We recorded all of them. And today we thought we'd give you a taste of one of those sessions. It's with someone that I've known for quite a long time. He's become a coach on our team. He started off as a clueless newbie who had never sold on Amazon before, and he's climbed the ranks to building a successful business. And now he's also a coach on our team. He happens to be from my hometown as well. We've got coaches all over the world, but Mike shares a little bit in his story about how he started getting into Amazon as a result of a short conversation that he and I had about a couple of years ago. And it's been a great journey for him. It's for his family. He was let go from a job, a career that he'd had for quite some time, and found himself looking for something to put his hands to. And he jumped into Amazon in this community, and he's now serving well, and he's built a great business. Now, it hasn't been all sunshine, rainbows, and roses. There's been challenges along the way. I love the transparency of what Mike shares with us today. So in just a minute, I'm going to turn the microphone over, and you're going to hear the unedited live recording from Mike's presentation in Orlando here just a few weeks ago. But before we do that, I want to let you know a couple things, and I'll join you after the audio is over as well to remind you of these things. But we are in the process right now of adding all of these 50 videos as free content inside of the Proven Amazon course library. That's right. If you've never heard us talk about this before, that's what we do here is we create incredible content constantly, always creating cutting edge education content for those who are selling on Amazon using any number of dozens of different strategies that we've perfected and discovered and tweaked over time and adjusted as Amazon changes. We've got the most cutting edge library of the most up-to-date content and training anywhere in the world. So our recent conference that others paid and traveled from all over the world to attend, well, you're going to get all of it if you're a proven Amazon course student. Now, what does it mean to be a proven Amazon course student? We call it the PAC affectionately in our community, PAC, because that's the website. That's the acronym for the website, provenamazoncourse.com. If you subscribe at provenamazoncourse.com, it's just a few dollars per month, and you get the entire library. Now, don't be overwhelmed when you first hear the word library, because you're only going to tackle the basic beginner modules when you start. We hold your hand. We've got a getting started roadmap. We will walk you through the process. It starts off assuming you are a clueless newbie who's never run a business and never made a dollar online and is a little intimidated by Amazon. That's where we assume you are. Then you can move as fast as you'd like through the process, step by step. We offer group hand-holding as well as individual coaching if you're interested as well. So you can move at your own pace through the content, or you can join a small group and go through it with a coach assisting. That's our Kickstart program. Or you can get a coach. Hey, if you want to talk to us about these things and have a conversation and see what makes the most sense for you, we'd love to have a short conversation with you, about half an hour or so, just to talk through your options, what makes the most sense for you, your schedule, your budget, your experience, how serious you are about this business, if you're just looking into it, or if you're really ready to get serious and make something happen. Let's have a conversation. You can go to silentjim.com/book a call, all one word, silentjim.com/book a call. That gets you on our schedule. You can call us anytime or text us anytime. There's numbers on that page. Or you can schedule a time to have a conversation with us, and we will talk you through your options as a student of our community. Well, that's enough of an introduction for now. I'm going to be joining you after the audio is over as well. I hope you really enjoy this. It's the bulk of the presentation that Mike gave. We're not sharing the whole thing today. We want you to be able to get in and see the slides and that sort of thing that Mike started to use as part of his presentation. And that's all inside the Proven Amazon course, where I mentioned dozens of other presentations from this conference have just been uploaded along with the already tens of thousands of dollars of value of content, the hand-holding, step-by-step content for dozens of Amazon selling strategies. It's all in there. There's a reason we have thousands of success stories in this community. We're very good at teaching people how to use the internet creatively to generate income, specifically, and most importantly, starting with Amazon, which is where we see the greatest opportunities in e-commerce right now, and the future is very bright. Well, let's jump in and spend some time with Mike. After the audio is over, I'll rejoin you.
So, name's Mike Alty. I came to my first conference in 23, and I had been selling I had opened my account and for like at least 9 days or something like that. So, brand spanking new, totally overwhelmed at the conference, and I wasn't sure if I was excited, overwhelmed, or petrified when I walked away. So, how did I get there? I just rewind real quick. Family, got 5 daughters, so appreciate the moment of silence and any prayers you guys can offer. So if you guys start harassing me, it's okay. I'm used to it. I took my watch out, my phone off and everything and put it down because I wouldn't put it past them. They'd be trying to text me to see if they could throw me off in the middle of it, which doesn't take a whole lot. So they are wonderful, at least, 50% of the time. No, they're great. I also have 2 grandkids, including one brand new baby girl that came in this last Sunday. So that was pretty cool. But how and why did I start? If you rewind, I always wanted my own business, but graduated school, got a job, got married while I was in school, had kids fairly early, had a house payment, and then you started looking at all the things you could do, and I'm a chicken. I'm like, I got responsibilities here. I can't risk it all and not put food on the table. And so went through kind of 2 different career paths that one led to the other, and then 2.5 years ago or so, I unexpectedly lost my job. No clue it was coming. And while I wanted my own job, you think real hard, do I want to do something else now? Is now the time? Lord, I'm a little stubborn. Are you smacking me upside the head and telling me to do something else? And I said, yeah, I'm going to take the easy button. I've been in corporate America now for, 30 plus years. I don't have that many years left. I'll just go back and take the easy button. And found out that in my, mid-50s, it's considerably harder to find a job in corporate America. It may be illegal, but it's really hard to find a job. I applied to hundreds of jobs, did not get an interview. And said, okay, Lord, what's next? So had a brother-in-law doing the business a little bit. All right, what are you doing? How's this work? Ran into no Jim Cockrum, I'll say loosely. Are we friends? Yeah, if we run each other at the store, we stop and say hi, wherever. And I knew Jim from like 25 years before. We went to church together. But it's not like somebody who you would call each other and say, hey, just checking in. How's it going? How's the family? Ran into him in the park, taking prom pictures for our kids. I'm like, all right, you know what? I know you're doing this for a long time and kind of lost touch with you. What is this thing you do again? And he told me, and I'm like, you know what, Lord, I got to do something. Let's put food on the table. Let's go. So bought coaching, jumped in both feet, and said, we got to find out how to make this work. So, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? We all have different reasons, but it's important to know, define for yourself where you're trying to go and what we're doing. I have written on a big whiteboard, assets under management, because that's just kind of one of my philosophy of what we're doing here. But I also list out some things that I try to support with what we're doing in the family. But that's how I ended up at Amazon, a little bit looking at it and said, okay, we've got to go with something here. So what that made me, though, was hard work and hungry, trying to put food on the table. So if you look at my journey in that year, conference was in May in Ohio. That in May, I did $794. In June, did $3,000. In July, $8,000. And in August, I did $13,000. That December, I did $33,000. So what is it? I wish there was an easy button I could say, guys, here's the magic sauce right here. It's a lot of hard work. The difference is, there's a lot of businesses you could start out there that are hundreds of thousands of dollars of upfront investment, and you still hope they work. Robin Joy likes to talk the low, low, high. It's fairly low risk, fairly low investment, and a fairly high chance of success. But there is no easy button. It's a lot of hard work. So if you look at that, what are you doing and where are you going? Why are you doing it? What is your goal? We'll talk a little bit about trying to define a little bit more what those goals look like. How many ASINs do you need? What's next month's goal? If you look at it, I would suggest a business journal. I'm not a big journaler. I'm not a big writer. Like I said, bullet points are great. The fewer words in each bullet point, even better. But it helps to write it down and know where you're going. What are you trying to do? And so if you keep a business journal and you are faithful with it, and every day, when you finish the day out, whatever that looks like for you, some of you are doing this part-time while you have other jobs, and it might be an hour. And some of you are doing this full-time, or you're retired or something, and you're doing 10 hours. But at the end of the day, what I accomplish, whether that's 2 or 3 words or 2 or 3 paragraphs, I don't care. What am I going to accomplish tomorrow? What is that priority? What am I going to do? You'll be surprised at how much further you are ahead. It's a little bit even holding yourself accountable. But that business journal will help, whether it's a bound book or some paper that is 3-hole punched and put in a binder. So if we look at a little bit, we talk about revenue goals. If you look at what your monthly goal is and divide that by your average selling price, and then how many times does your average ASIN sell per month? So in this case, since you signed up more or less for the 0 to 10,000 course, we're going to say, and you can all do this, pull your phones out, put any number in there you want, and you'll come up with your own goal. But for argument's sake, if we said we had a $10,000 monthly goal and our average sell price was $20, which was about where I was at when I started off, and I'm not too far off that now, and how many times a month does your ASIN sell? So if you pick 6, it's kind of in the middle, you're going to end up with about 83 ASINs you need to be $10,000 a month. Now, what's the 1.2? If any of you have been doing this business, do all of your tests work out? Mine don't. Have any of you had an ASIN fall off that you started off good with? You replenished it once and thought, man, this is great, I found one. Well, crud, there's 15 other sellers on there, it's not good anymore. So what the 1.2, I wouldn't say it's a scientific number. It's kind of a swag, but put it in there. You're going to have some drop off, you're going to have some tests not work, so it's going to be a little more. So that's a little bit, in round numbers, kind of how the path to 100 ASINs come along. You kind of have a business now. Most of us aren't going to retire off the income at $10,000 of revenue, but you have a business, you have a book of business, you have proof of concept, and you have something you can build with. And so that's kind of where that 100 ASINs comes from. You guys do that with you want $30,000 a month? You sell expensive items and you sell $200, or so you can play with that number a little bit, but that gives you kind of a good start of where you're at. Now, how fast do you want to get there? Is that a year? Is it 2 years? Is it a month? My first coach said, where do you want to be? And I said, I don't remember the time frame I gave her, but I had played some numbers, and I'm like, I want to be $80,000 a month at this time frame. She looked, I was on a Zoom call, and she nodded her head, and she said, it is good to have goals. So I thought, I think she very politely told me I was crazy, but okay. So, the other one is, you look at kind of the other way is, what's your income goal? Okay? Longer term for most of us, but your monthly income goal divided by your margin, which we'll talk a little bit more about margin in a minute, will give you your monthly revenue you need. So if you want $10,000 of income, instead of $10,000 in sales, we're now talking income, and you have a 10% margin, well, if you divide the 10,000 by the 10%, you need $100,000 a month of revenue. Well, if you got a 15% margin on average, that's a $66,000 a month. And keep going. You got 20,000 or a 20% average margin, that's $50,000 a month in revenue. So you can kind of back into them like, okay, well, now that I take that slide, if you're looking at what your revenue or the income you want, and you back that into how many ASINs you need through the previous slide, you start to get in, okay, I know where I'm going, now how am I going to get there? So we start talking, okay, a lot of them will talk about, well, I want 30 ASINs in 30 days. If you're just starting off, that's an aggressive goal. It's doable. That's where they start a lot of coaching students off. Let's get 30 ASINs in 30 days. My coach looked at me and said, you're a little bit crazy. You better get more than 30 in 30 days. You're more like, instead of that's 7 a week, you better be getting 15 a week. But anyway, that gives you an idea of where you're going. The other one is know what your numbers are when you're looking at it. So, and know what the numbers mean. Revenue. If you look at an ASIN you sold for $30, and this one's pretty close to one of my first, I'll say, good ASINs that lasted for 6 to 9 months for me. It was an RA ASIN. We bought it for $10, $11. We sold it for $30. Amazon took their cut, which is always bigger than what we'd like, right? So they took about $10, and I got left with about $9. So what does that mean? And as they start talking about numbers, ROI, return on investment, your profit divided by your cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold, just an accounting term for how much did you pay for that product. So in this case, I had $9 profit divided by $11 that I paid for it, 82% ROI. Margin is your profit, that same $9 divided by how much you sold it for, or 30. In this case, that was a 30% margin. Different people look at some people prefer margin, some people prefer ROI, don't really care. They're obviously different numbers here, but it's really telling you the same information. I look at ROI when I'm mainly doing it because if I give you $1, I want to know what I'm going to get back. I don't care as much. The margin can have a lot of things in there with how much Amazon fees are and so forth as they're paying for it. But down the road, you'll also be looking at margin because at the end of the month, you can easily see how much did I sell. So what you know is revenue, and you can turn around and figure out your profit, what you're getting back. So that's what the margin is. It's easier to, once you're looking at what Amazon you've sold, you see the margin number. When I'm doing sourcing, I'm looking at ROI personally. So a quote I came across, revenue is for vanity. You hear a lot of people talking about, oh, I had a $30,000 a month. Oh, I had a $100,000 a month. And that's good, but does that mean anything? I don't know. Did you lose money on it? Did you make money on it, right? Profit is for sanity. So revenue is for vanity, profit is for sanity. Most of us don't talk about profit, right? Most of the posts on Facebook don't talk about profit. But the profit's for sanity. That's really why we're here, okay? Cash is king, and you start looking at it as you come in, you've got to get the cash back and into your account in order to reinvest it. So if you look at, you're starting off, if you are brand spanking new in the business and you said, I've got $1,000 to do this business, take that $1,000, divide it by roughly 10. So how much should you be spending a week? Somewhere around 10% of what you have to invest. And why is that? So there's a couple things. One, if you're just starting off, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have, if your first part group you sent in, I don't know, what's going to be successful in that one? 80% or 20% maybe? You might have an 80% failure rate. That's okay, you learned. And the next shipment, you might have a 60%. You'll get to where what you send in is pretty darn good. But early on, you have mistakes. So don't spend all your investment in week one and just say, voila, this is going to now start multiplying. It also, if you look at the payout schedule, you sell an item, so if you look at the process, you sourced for hours and hours before you found one product that you thought might work, right? Then you bought the product, and if you're doing OA, that's another week before it gets there. You send it into Amazon. How long does it take to get to Amazon? Well, a week. You're excited now, right? How long does it take to get an inventory? Forever, right? I mean, sometimes I've had it in a week. Wow, amazing, buy a lottery ticket that week. I've had it 6 weeks, okay? So you got a 2 to 6 week window before it's even, after they've received it, before it's available for somebody to buy. Now you sold it and you're excited. What happens next? Amazon takes about this much of it, right? Then there's 2-week delay before that payment comes back. What happens with your payment? Amazon holds part of it, right? Why are they holding my money? Daggone it, I worked hard for that. Give it back. Well, they want to know that A, it's not counterfeit, B, the customer's not going to return it, and they're going to hold enough to kind of cover those types of items. Now, the next 2-week pay cycle, you'll get that part they held back, okay? But they're always holding something back for a couple more weeks. But that 10-week cycle, divide it by 10, if you do a little bit every week then, you'll start to, by the time you get towards the end of that investment period, you'll start to have some money coming back from Amazon to reinvest. Also, I would say that's the maximum you invest in your first 10 weeks. If you had $100 to invest that week, but you don't have $100 of the product to buy, that's okay. Keep working at it. It will come. Don't just throw it out there and say, I hope like heck something works. So work hard on finding sources, but be patient on what you're sending in. Make sure you think it's going to work, right? And you'll get better at that.
Hey, we'll get back to the episode in just a second, but I want to tell you about today's sponsor. You can find them at silentjimdotcom/buy or sell. All one word. What are we talking about? Well, did you know that you can sell an unused Amazon account, or you can buy someone else's account associated with their business and leap past some of the initial setup stages of owning a new selling account? Now, you have to do it the right way. There's one company that we've trusted for almost 4 years now who's handled hundreds of transactions, helping new sellers buy accounts, helping sellers with extra accounts sell them safely within Amazon's policy. You've got to do it the right way. Like I said, you want to talk to Aaron and his team. They've been buying and selling accounts for a long time for many, many sellers around the world. And if you contact them through silentjim.com/buy or sell, they're going to give you the best possible deal and take great care of you. They're great sponsors of this community. You're going to love working with them. Reach out to them if you're interested in buying or selling an Amazon account. Hey, let's get back to today's episode.
Work hard on finding sources, but be patient on what you're sending in. Make sure you think it's going to work, right? And you'll get better at that. So, a couple thoughts for you. You find a $10 item with a 200% ROI, gives you a $20 profit, and it sells every 6 months. Who's taking it? I got one in the back. A bunch of you. It's not bad. If you got a $10 item with a 50% ROI, that's $5 profit, sells every 4 weeks. Who's taking it? A few of you are. I am every time, guys. But raise your hand if you want the 200% ROI. Raise your hand if you'd rather have the 50% ROI in this case, okay? If you look at that 6-month window, because of the time the money turns over, and the reasons you hear a lot of people talking and preaching about turns, how fast is it, okay? If you were reinvested that every 4 weeks as it came back in, that 50% ROI item would give you $40 profit in that 6-month window. Okay? So that's why turns are also important. Now, I'm not sneezing at a 200% ROI, guys. But looking at that turns and realizing how fast it sells and how fast you're likely to get your money back is also important. Now, when I started off, every class I took and every time I went through PAC, they were talking about mental attitude. I'll be honest, I did not like those sessions. I skipped part of them. But I looked at mental attitude. I'm like, guys, stop with the fluff. Just tell me what I got to do. I'm going to do it. Just get out of my way. Tell me what I'm going to do. Let's go. Mental attitude becomes real important because it's kind of a low investment. It's low risk. It's kind of high probability of odds. It's not easy, guys. You're going to get kicked in the shin. Sometimes you're going to get, your kneecap taken off. So I saw this video, and it's taken from the crowd of a motivational speech, so it's not a good quality video. But it spoke to me because it's like, holy cow, this is what Amazon feels like. You go up a few steps, Amazon comes along and takes you out, right? You land a little bit lower, you're like, crud, all right? And you get back up, you think you make progress, and somebody knocks you off again, okay? So, I made it to the top, I got my goal, and now you just fell back off. So, it's only a 1-minute video. This isn't the whole time. But I came and showed my wife, and I'm like, guys, look, this is just what it feels like. So, and now you fall off, you're like, am I going to get back up? Where's this at? So, if you look at my journey, I was hitting December of last year. So in December of 23, I was about 33,000. December of 24, I was about 60-some thousand. And about in that time frame, Amazon did something, we'll talk a little later, but they changed the bundling package and multi-pack package. About 25% of my ASINs. Wiped out about 50%, or about 50% of my ASINs. Wiped out 50% of my revenue, my income, and I felt like the guy was laid on the bottom of the trampoline. I wasn't quite sure how am I going to climb back up. So that went from about February timeframe of this year. So I went from 60 to 25,000, which most of you are like, oh, I'll take 25,000. I'm in the 0 to 10 class, right? But I felt like that guy was laying on the bottom of the trampoline. And so what I do, I source like crazy. And so from February timeframe to now, I'm just now back to about 60,000. But I am able to replicate that a little faster now because I've been down the journey a little longer. And so it is faster to find ASINs when you've been doing it for 2 years and you've looked at tens of thousands of ASINs than it is when you're looking at your first 5, okay? But that's why that video spoke to me, and those of you who have done it for a few times, you've at least been knocked down a few of the steps. But it's important to keep going. What is that to get back up? And first podcast I listened to and trying to figure out if I want to do this business or not, and you're like in podcast number 100 you're listening to, and Jim's like, business building warriors, let's go. And I'm like, yeah, okay, keep going. Well, there's a reason for that. It takes endurance, it takes perseverance, it takes grit. My family would probably tell you it's just stubbornness, but I got back up and I'm still climbing those steps trying to get there. but it's important to be teachable while you're being stubborn at the same time, okay? So always be learning. You have some fantastic resources available to you. So the PAT course, don't try to absorb it all this weekend or next week when you get back. There's just too much information there. But Replens 2.0 with Jimmy Smith is excellent. Advanced Keepa, kind of replaced by Keepa 360, is excellent. And so anytime I have a new student, that's where I point them to go. Is go watch Keepa 360. You're probably going to watch it more than once, okay? I'm fairly computer literate, and before Keepa 360 came out, I was doing the advanced Keepa, and I'm like, got it. All right, got it. And I sit down at the computer, I'm like, daggone it, where's that field he was trying to do? It was so easy to see on Brian's screen. Called Brian some not nice names, and I got to the point where you're going back and pause the video right there, and I'm scrolling through all the Keepa trying to find that cotton picking spot. So you may have to watch it more than once, but those are great sources to get into to start talking about how am I going to find those ASINs. So as we talk about mindset, the most valuable math you can learn, so we talked about ROI and margin, but is how to calculate the future cost of your current decisions. So let it sink in. It really doesn't matter if we're talking about raising kids now or, what's next, but where you're at right now and the decisions you're making for what you're going to do in the future is going to have a huge impact. So on to sourcing, okay? We're not going to spend a ton of time on sourcing because we could do like a month-long conference, 10 hours a day on all the ways to source. Everybody's a little bit different, and so what works for me may not work for you. I like computers. I'm fairly tech savvy. I really like Keepa, guys. If you're my student, the first thing I'm going to try to do is get you on Keepa if that works for you. My wife is not as tech savvy as I am, and to give her an interface into a database, she just soon pull her fingernails out. But she is really good at going to the store and finding a matching ASIN. She's phenomenal at it. So what works for me may not work for you, and there's 1,000 ways. Jimmy goes through a bunch of them. Keepa 360 goes through a bunch of them. And so we're going to just hit it at a really high level. It's more about that your journey is keep them going, okay? But OA, RA, so online arbitrage, retail arbitrage. My first 23 was all retail arbitrage. It's a little easier also for me. You're trying to find out, one of the big things you'd figure out is, does this product really match that ASIN I had? And that's a little easier when I got it in my hands and I'm looking at it and I think, crud. I thought this was the same. It's 2 ounces instead of 6 ounces. I didn't catch it. And it's easier when you're doing the prep yourself. If you send to a prep center, you hope they're good enough to catch that because the picture looked the same type of thing. So it was easier for me to do retail many times. Margins or profits are a little better on retail as well. So not all bad. Now, you got to get in the car and drive across town. I live in Greenwood, which is kind of the south side of Indianapolis, a medium-sized city. There was a time frame with retail arbitrage. One day of the week and it'd be like a 10 to 12 hour day of sourcing. I'd start on the south side, and I would kind of go south and west and all the way up to the northwest corner of the city. My wife would go east side, all the way to the northeast side of the city for another 10-hour day of shopping. We hit every Walmart, we hit every Meijer, here's our list, let's go. And so if you're doing OA, well, that's two man days of work you just saved right there. So there's pros and cons, but I do OA, I do RA, I do some wholesale now, but how are you sourcing? There are a lot of vendors out there that will sell you on the easy button in their software. I've used a lot of it. I still use some of it. So I'm not telling you it's not a option, but there is no easy button. Every part about this is a lot of hard work and digging in. And so I've used Nepeto, I've used Quick Finds, I've used Arbitrage Hero. I'm not telling you they don't work. I've found some ASINs, I've sold ASINs from them. I still use some of them a little bit, but there's also a benefit to digging in and finding it yourself, okay? One thing on speed of sourcing a little bit, and I told you I'm a Keepa is my sweet spot of digging in and looking at it, is I'm a visual person, and so the more I can see in front of me one time, the faster my brain can process. And so I started off with a laptop, and I had 2 monitors. You don't have to go buy fancy monitors. Facebook Marketplace is an amazing place. Put the note out to your family. You'd be surprised how many have an extra monitor sitting around. But to have kind of keep on one screen and the Amazon page in another screen and my Google sourcing on another screen, I can eliminate 90% of the ASINs in 20 seconds. If you can't find a good source for that in the first 20 seconds, the source you find for it on page 13, you're really now questioning, is that going to be a valid source, or is that a counterfeit or something else? And so eliminating your sources as fast as possible, not sources, those ASINs that don't work as fast as possible, get you to the one that will, okay? And so keep sourcing, keep looking at it, go through it. When you find one like, wait, I think that one might work, then you stop, and I might spend 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes on it trying to make sure that everything matches up and it's a good source and so forth. But there's a whole lot of them just weeding through. They talked in round numbers, there's 1 billion ASINs on Amazon. There's over 1 million that people would say are underserved right now. That's still a lot of needles in a haystack. You're trying to get through all that other stuff to get to that one small percent that you're trying to find. So the quicker you get there, the better off you are. So on sourcing, let's see. A couple items for fairly new people is brand search. If you find something, because gating is a challenging opportunity, right? So I like to say there's not problems, there's opportunities. And I come up from the basement where I work sometimes, and my wife says, how's it doing? And I said, it's been an opportunity-rich morning. It means nothing's gone well, right? But how do you turn that into something you're going to try to work on and keep a positive attitude? So when you find a brand you're ungated on, plug that into Keepa under the brand, and look for other items in that brand, because you're at least ungated in that one. Because you can be ungated you can be gated in a category, you can be gated by the brand, you can be gated on an individual ASIN, okay? But at least if you find the brand, you're generally in that category that you're ungated in, searching that brand out and going through it will help. So once you find an ASIN that works well for you, you look at the brand. Another thing is to look at who else is selling that ASIN and what are they selling, which is the storefront stalking, which is the part of the Keepa that I first started in that really got me from the kind of that 0 to my first 30,000 was a lot of storefront stalking. So the other thing that happens when you have 5 daughters, your nice stainless steel bottle disappears. You're walking out of the conference and you come with a girly water bottle instead. So my brother-in-law recently moved to Florida, and he called me up and he's like, well, you know what? Here's an ASIN that we can't buy anywhere other than the one store we had. And so here you go. It's a good ASIN. I'm selling it. It works well. The other thing I did was, after I sent it in for a test, even though he told me it worked well, I still tested it, sold well. I'm going back to the replens. So what do? I go look at who else is selling that. And then I start going through the stores. And we're packing, we're trying to get things done. My wife's packing downstairs with me. My mom comes down and was packing downstairs. Then I looked at it and said, ladies, I'll be there in a minute. I'm storefront stalking, and I just found the honey hole. So I found, because it's a local hardware store, I found somebody else who used that hardware store, and I could tell because there's one, you look at this item and you look at it, where are they at? It's not showing up a lot of places. And so I took the couple of ASINs he gave me and went to, then I had the hardware store list while they're packing to 10 items that are testable. Go to the hardware store for those 10 items, and you look at it, and here's product A, and I went, product A has 4 other sizes with it. So I pull it out and I start looking at those. And so I came back from that trip to replens those 3 items that was going to be what the original part was, with $1,000 in my cart of like 20 testable ASINs. So, keep looking. That's kind of the rabbit trailing. I started here. Now, if this looks good, what about this? And what about this? Sometimes you get so far off the rabbit trail, nothing's working. You go back over here and go to that list. But keep looking around and finding those other next connected items for it. So red flags, the Replens 2.0 course by Jimmy. If you go through and you click through and open up the index, he has a whole session on red flags. It's a must watch, okay? There's several things there that you definitely need to pay attention to.
Hey, sorry to cut you off right there, but as Mike goes into the presentation, he starts using some visual aids and slides and things, and we thought it'd be best just to encourage you to jump in and become a proven Amazon course student. Not only do you get the remainder of this presentation, you get all 50 of the sessions that we recorded for you recently at our live conference, as well as all the other dozens and dozens of benefits of being a proven Amazon course student. We'd love to have you join our ranks. It is consistently voted the top Amazon seller education training for resellers and for all kinds of other modules as well in the industry. Did you know that this podcast was voted #1 in the industry for Amazon sellers? Our group was voted #1. Our event is at the top of the ranks, our courses and content. And I think it's for one special reason. We've surrounded ourselves with really great people who have a teacher's heart, who are rooting for you to succeed. And hopefully that came through as you're listening to Mike. We're real people. We don't sugarcoat anything. Business, like everything else worth having in life, a successful business requires real work. It requires real commitment. There will be challenges. But if no one's told you this before, everything in life worth having is exactly like that. So surrounding yourself with other people who are committed, who are abundance minded, who can encourage you, help you navigate the challenges, well, that's vital. And that's what we have here is a community of people like that. So this is my last reminder. If you're not a proven Amazon course student yet, you need to be. Get to provenamazoncourse.com, sign up. That's a few dollars per month, and you get everything starting day one, and we will hold your hand through the entire process. I should let you know as well, as I'm recording this, summer 2025, we are going to be increasing the price very soon, possibly significantly, for the monthly membership to Proven Amazon course. It's been $39 a month for a very long time. We're going to be increasing the price. If you lock in at $39, you'll be grandfathered in. But if you fail to lock in, you're going to have to pay the new price. So lock in, enjoy the frequent updates and benefits. We add new content. We clean up the old content. We remove anything that's no longer relevant. It's constantly being updated. So you're only getting the latest strategies and insights into the dozens of ways there are to monetize with the most popular e-commerce platform in the United States. It's half of all transactions every day on Amazon. So much opportunity, and it's expanding rapidly. We'd love to help you navigate this incredible opportunity. Build a business you can be proud of. Hey, one other thing I want to tell you about before I let you go. In the middle of August, we're going to have a virtual conference. So if you enjoyed this audio from our live conference that people attended from all over the world, well, you can do our virtual conference from the comfort of home. It's going to be August 15th and 16th. You can get details at the same website where we sell our live event tickets. This one's going to be very inexpensive, though. I'm going to stick a code for you in the show notes today so you can get into our virtual event for only $7. Now, if you happen to be a proven Amazon course student, you get in free. If you're a coaching student, you get in free. The rest of the world's paying $97 to get in, but because you're a listener to our podcast, I'm going to give you a $90 off coupon code in the show notes today. Look for that, okay? And then plan to join us August 15th and 16th. Now, if you can't be there live with us, of course, we will record the content and you can catch it later. For $7, you get live access and the recordings from our 2-day event. All the details about this event are at the website, theprovenconference.com. So get over there, sign up. There's already 1,500 people in the group for this event. We're expecting about 2,000 to be there with us. It's going to be incredible, and you're going to be encouraged and inspired by people who are doing incredible things right now. We're going to show you how to navigate the fourth quarter of the year, which is a huge opportunity for all sellers. We're going to tell you about some of the latest tools and strategies that we're using to help launch our new students and our experienced students into new levels of success. We want you to be a part of this event. So plan to join us August 15th and 16th. The website, one last time, theprovenconference.com. But don't pay $97 to get in. Pay just $7 using the coupon code that's in today's show notes or listed near this episode. If you want to contact us, reach out to our support team, silentjim.com/support. That's how you can reach us anytime if you have questions. God bless you, business building warrior. We'll have another great episode for you very soon.